Could Hitler have captured the Soviet Union in 1937? We all know about the Führer's plans, which he developed according to his main operation Barbarossa in 1940 and 1941. But what is known about 1937? My name is Vladimir, and I welcome you to my channel, Two Wars. We begin. It is no secret that the final decision to attack the Soviet Union was made by Hitler's strategists under the influence of euphoria from their triumphant victories in Europe, as well as the unsuccessful actions of the Red Army in the war with Finland. Before the events of 1938 to 1940, the German General Staff was very skeptical of the Führer's concept of an offensive in the East. If we speak very generally, the idea of capturing the Soviet Union emerged for Hitler long before the Barbarossa plan. The ways of implementing this plan were somewhat different for him. Documents from 1933 to 1939 from the archives of the SVR and the Russian State Military Archive are posted on the Presidential Library's website, from which one can understand the sentiments of the top military leaders of Germany on the eve of the Great War. Friends, now we will return from the head of the Intelligence Department, Major General Semyon Petrovich Uritsky, to the People's Commissar of Defense of the USSR, Klim Voroshilov, on the attitude of representatives of the German Army towards the Soviet Union and the Red Army. We read that
General Hammerstein considers a future war of Germany against the Soviet Union to be a catastrophe that would destroy Germany. Many of his colleagues share these views. The German High Command is exerting strong pressure on Hitler's policies. It believes that the Red Army cannot be openly defeated by force. Therefore, other methods must be employed.
in the spring of 1937, most German generals, understanding where Hitler was leading, cautiously but firmly warned him.
Disagreements between Hitler and the military leadership intensified. In May 1937, when Führer did not agree with them, and the friction between the leader of the Third Reich and his generals was noted not only by Soviet intelligence, but also by British intelligence. Disagreements between Hitler and the military leadership intensified. In May 1937, when the Führer decided to undertake an open intervention in Spain, sending a 60,000-strong contingent of the Wehrmacht and a strong group of Kriegsmarine ships to assist Franco. Categorically opposed to this were the Minister of Imperial Defense Werner von Blonder, the Commander of the Ground Forces Werner von Fritsch, and the Commander of the German Navy Admiral Erich Raeder. Based on their objections, Adolf Hitler abandoned the project. But Hitler, of course, did not acknowledge his mistakes. He later claimed that there was an opportunity to send 60,000 men to a strong fleet, but his own generals. In 1938, by the way, both Blomberg and Frisch lost their positions and were replaced by more aggressive and compliant individuals. But overall, these resignations did not eliminate the opposition of the General Staff. German strategists in 1937 to 38 were against the plan to invade the Soviet Union not because they wanted peace, and because they understood that the implementation of this plan was fundamentally impossible, that capturing the Soviet Union was not the same as capturing Europe. The implementation of this plan could end in a larger defeat than what Germany experienced in 1918. The Führer argued that time is currently working against Germany. The Soviet Union is intensively militarizing, modernizing, and rearming its army. It is necessary not to allow him to carry out his retreat and to take advantage of the temporary advantage of the militarization of the Third Reich to deliver a crushing blow to Bolshevism. There was indeed logic in these words. By that time, the Soviet Union had made significant progress in the industrial sector. May 1937, the top opposition was responding to Hitler. Bolshevism would soon strike a blow against itself. A conspiracy is brewing among the top leadership of the Red Army, led by Tukhachevsky. But then news broke about the arrest of the Red Bonaparte and his accomplices. And this dealt a severe blow to the group of German generals who advocated against an open war with the Soviet Union.
You see how these gentlemen brilliantly manage foreign policy, whereas Tukhachevsky's group, this imaginary Russian trump card, the second leg on which German foreign policy should stand. It is underground, the Führer said irritably to his strategists.
These words appear in the report of the First Department of the Intelligence Directorate of the Red Army, Major General Oskar Stijn, for the People's Commissar of Defense of the Soviet Union, Klim Voroshilov.
In the same document dated August 21, 1937, Oskar Ansevich writes, in German diplomatic circles, it is claimed that after the Tukhachevsky affair, the army's influence on German foreign policy allegedly ceased.
An alternative plan for capturing Soviet Union was given to Hitler. A similar plan from the Führer Erich Raeder. The Mediterranean Sea could have become the main theater of military operations. Raeder proposed to capture Gibraltar, thereby cutting off the English route to the Mediterranean Sea. The North African group of the Wehrmacht was to move through Lydia and Egypt and capture the Suez Canal. Berlin-Rommel was close to this in 1942. It was also proposed to capture another important stronghold in the Mediterranean, the island of Malta. After that, the English found themselves completely cut off from the southern direction. This would have been a devastating blow to Great Britain. Germany could have further developed its expansion from Suez into the Middle East and the Caucasus into the oil-rich region. Under these conditions, Turkey would have readily joined in. Considering the forces available to the Third Reich and the opposing English troops in the Mediterranean, the implementation of these plans would have been quite realistic and acceptable. The Soviet Union would have maintained neutrality and possibly traded resources with Germany in accordance with intergovernmental agreements. German strategists observed how carefully Stalin tried to adhere to the non-aggression pact, avoiding even the slightest provocations. But Hitler did not like this plan. As I mentioned before, the idea of invading the Soviet Union had been in his mind for a long time. After the annexation of Austria in 1938, Hitler was already telling his closest subordinates that a war with the Soviet Union was a settled matter. But you draw your own conclusions here. This military adventure was assessed quite soberly by Guderian. He visited the Soviet Union in 1932 as part of an inspection. German military officials were interested in the tank school in Kazan. That is why, given the power of Soviet industry and the vast territory, he had little faith in a quick victory.
Shortly after Molotov's visit to Berlin, my chief of staff, Lieutenant Colonel Baron von Liebenstein, and the head of operations, Major Bayerlin, were summoned to a meeting with the chief of the General Staff of the Land Forces, where they received the first instructions regarding Operation Barbarossa, the plan for war against Russia. When they came to me for a report after that meeting and unfolded a map of Russia before me, I couldn't believe my eyes. What I thought was impossible was about to become a reality. Hitler, who sharply criticized the political leadership of Germany in 1914 in my presence for not understanding the dangers of waging war on two fronts, now wanted to start a war with Russia without finishing the war with England. In doing so, he was bringing upon himself the danger that comes from waging war on two fronts. This is why he was persistently warned by all the old soldiers, and he himself often came to refer to it as a mistaken step. Past successes, especially the victory in the West achieved in such unexpectedly short time, clouded the minds of the leaders of our Supreme Command so much that they erased the word impossible from their lexicon. All the leaders of the Supreme Command of the Armed Forces and the main command of the Ground Forces with whom I had to speak displayed unwavering optimism and did not respond to any objections. I persistently pointed out to the troops that the upcoming campaign would be significantly harder than the campaign in Poland and the Western Campaign.
Of course, many German generals wrote after the war that they wanted to dissuade Hitler from attacking the Soviet Union. But all of this was only in memoirs. The truth is that no one knows for sure. There was only one known case when a member of the Third Reich's upper echelons tried to dissuade Hitler from war with the Soviets. The text refers to a rather insignificant case. On April 28, 1941, the German ambassador to the Soviet Union, Walter von Schulenburg, while in Berlin at a reception with Hitler, persistently but unsuccessfully tried to dissuade the Führer from going to war with the Soviet Union. He was refused. Schulenburg returned to Moscow. From then on, Hitler no longer listened to his skeptical generals. He was only becoming more entrenched in the correctness of his choice and the idea of pushing eastward. The generals had fewer and fewer doubts, and there were reasons for that. All of Hitler's military adventures were, in principle, successful. The annexation of Austria went smoothly. The capture of Czechoslovakia was successful. The capture of France was successful. The capture of Poland was successful. Well, how can one not believe in their own invincibility and superiority? And what do you think? Could Hitler have captured the Soviet Union in 1937? I understand that the answer will be obvious, but still write your opinion in the comments, like, and subscribe to my channel. All of this will greatly help its promotion. Bye.